Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of The Hype, where minds collide and ideas amplify. Based on my outfit today, can you already guess what we're going to talk about? Obviously, another fascinating aspect of Chinese culture, which is we're going to talk about tea culture. And joining me via Zoom today are two friends, very specially saying hello from Hungary. First, please say hello to Professor Fan Liyun and her student Mate. Professor Fan is a professor at Hungary Confucius Institute in the university that teaches tea culture, as well as her student Mate, who majors in international relations. So please, guys, say hello to our viewers.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, guys. How are you guys doing? You're looking fabulous today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you are.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. So, as we have mentioned, today we will be talking about tea. We will be talking about culture. We have friends joining us from Hungary. But first, we are actually streaming live right now on YouTube, TikTok, X, Facebook, as well as Chinese platforms of Weibo, WeChat, and Bilibili, and most importantly, our CGTN official platform. Please tune into The Hype and leave your comments for any inquiries you might have during our live stream. So, guys, welcome. I'm super excited because I'm actually a coffee drinker. So the fact that today we're going to be talking about tea, I am over the moon excited. Hopefully after this episode, a lot of coffee drinkers like me will switch the road and turn into tea. So to make this episode more fun, I decided how we can have an ice-breaking game. Guys, what do you think? Professor, Mate, are we excited for an ice-breaking game?
Yes, sure.
Let's go.
All right, so let's test our knowledge about tea. Professor, may I ask you, matcha tea and green tea are both derived from the same plant, so they are cultivated and processed similarly. Is that true or false?
That's an interesting question, but it is false, unfortunately. Although matcha tea and green tea are from the same plant, however, they are processed in different way. So actually, they are different. Tea.
I'm sure me and a lot of viewers did not know that, so thank you for sharing that that statement is false. Wonderful. Thank you, Professor. Next, Mate, I got a question for you. Oolong tea originated in China. Is that true or false?
True.
True. Wonderful. All right, next question. Professor Fan, pu'er tea tends to have lower caffeine content than other tea types. Is that true or false?
No, it's not true. And due to the long fermentation process, pu'er tea tends to have higher caffeine content than the other type of tea. And for example, 1 cup of pu'er tea can contain 30 to 100 milligrams of caffeine. So, but it's still lower than a cup of coffee.
It's still lower than a cup of coffee, but I think it might not be like the first choice that people want to drink before bed, right? Because of the high caffeine level.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Next question to Mate. Jasmine tea is made with green tea leaves. Is that true or false?
That's true.
That's true. I quite like jasmine tea, actually. All right, last question to Professor Fan. Tea bags were invented in India. Is that statement true or false?
No, it's not true. And actually, it was discovered or invented accidentally in 1904. And a tea merchant from New York, Thomas Sullivan, devised a plan to cut costs and send tea samples packed in a small silk poucher. So he invented the tea bags accidentally.
That is such an interesting story. I feel like through these 5 little questions, a lot of people got to know more about tea, and very fantastic how much knowledge you guys have about tea.
Thank you.
So basically from the game now, we've got a lot of information, and we've seen that tea actually has a very long history. From the tea agriculture to the culture, it has been spread through thousands of years. There's specific tea called the Camellia sinensis plant that was found in East Asia, and then likely afterwards between Southeast China to northern Myanmar, where it was broadly found. And then afterwards, I read something that said the first instance of tea was tracked back to the Shang dynasty. especially in China when people drank it as a medicine, which I thought was quite fascinating. But then later on, thousands of years later, we drink tea on different occasions. We drink tea to celebrate. We drink tea to just have a quick chat, like a lot of places do with afternoon teas. So we can all see that tea literally has been in so many different cultures. At least I know for the Arab culture, we have tea like 5 times a day, especially tea with mint. We have it in the morning, at noon, at night. So as we all know, people think coffee drinkers are the vast majority, but truthfully, tea is in a lot of cultures and a lot of different aspects. So speaking about tea, our lovely Professor Fan is actually someone who likes tea, I'm sure, who loves tea, but she actually brought a tea culture class to the university, teaching it as a course. So Professor, I'd like to know more about you. Tell me, why and how did you bring Chinese tea culture to Hungary?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for asking. And first, I used to be an English teacher. And in 2019, I really want to teach Chinese in a foreign country because I love this cross-cultural communication. So that's why I was here and as a teacher in Michigan University and the Confucius Institute. And about tea culture class, first we have the language class. The language point is that, and I would like to have tea. And so to make this language class more vivid, and every time when we come this lesson, I would make tea for my students and talk about the tea culture and talk about the likes and the dislikes. So we learn this language point together with this culture activity. And my students really love it. So then after that, in event, we have a lot of events here, like the Spring Festival celebration. We have the Dragon Boat Festival and the celebration. We also have some local events here, or the university events. And at every event, we would set up a tea table, we make tea, and our audience are really enthusiastic about the tea. Since we have so many tea lovers, then we decide to make a tea culture club. That's how we have the tea culture class here.
Wow, that's fascinating. And tell me more, like the first time you gave the tea culture class and the first time you saw students in Hungary so excited, how did that feel?
Yeah, they really love this tea culture class because this tea culture class is not only a lecture about the story, about the history, and about the knowledge, but also it's experience. They got some hands-on experience. They can make tea. They can taste the different kinds of tea, and they become to love this Chinese tea. They find this Chinese tea is much better than the other kind of fashionable tea, milk tea maybe. So they like this authentic Chinese tea. And some of them even go to tea house in Budapest to try some tea.
That sounds very exciting. That really does sound exciting. Mate, I would like to address my question to you. You look fabulous in this traditional clothing. I would assume you're interested in Tai Chi, Kung Fu, martial arts, but I have heard that you actually chose Chinese tea culture class. So tell me more. What made you choose that class?
Well, my interest for the Chinese culture came because of the passion and the dedication of the Chinese teachers here in the Confucius Institute. But you know, I'm a hyped up guy. I like to work out hard, study a lot, fighting in Muay Thai. So the tea is a point of harmony, a point of peace for me. And I absolutely love the Chinese tea culture class because it's a moment of joy. It's a moment of focus. It's a moment to let go all the worries, all the plans, all the projects I'm working on, and being here in this moment in a fabulous community.
That is fascinating. And like you said, tea makes you feel more like in harmony, connected with yourself, and more at peace, even though you're very hyper, you have a lot of classes to study, you have martial arts, as you said. So I think that's really fascinating. So tell me, when you first took the class with Professor Fan, how did that feel? What was your first impression of that class?
Well, it was so interesting because of the cultural background, the philosophy that Professor Fan introduced to us. But, and obviously for a Hungarian student, this experience is so exotic, so interesting, so captivating. But we are actually a great international group, you know. We have students from Ecuador, from Africa, and I like to experience how the Chinese culture has this capability to create harmony, to create unity among the different nations, different cultures. As an international relations enthusiast like I am, I find the same thing here in the tea class that I find in the world processes and global politics. And this is rooted in the Chinese culture, which I'm a big fan of.
You definitely are a big fan. My producer also told me that you've written a lot of articles in terms of Chinese culture. Can you tell me more? Which aspects exactly have you been writing articles on?
Yes, actually, I tried to introduce for Western researchers the paradigm of international relations from the Chinese point of view, which is quite different than the Western approaches. I found it more peaceful and more constructive in some senses. So I went to some conferences to present it. Actually, I wrote my articles about this topic from different points of view, deeply rooted, always deeply rooted in my Chinese culture classes and in Professor Fan's help and
Wow,
guidance.
that is fantastic. I can tell the professor and your student, you have quite a close relationship, a friendship of teaching your student and like mutually learning as well. So tell me, Professor Fan, tell us more. When you first saw Mate in your class, at your tea culture class, did you feel like, huh, one day this will be a student who's going to write a lot about Chinese culture in terms of his articles?
Yes, yeah. And when the first I met Marty, I can find that he is enthusiastic about Chinese language and culture as well. So first he came to our language class, and then he joined me in my culture class. Actually, I had two culture classes. And first is the Chinese culture in general, and later we have the tea culture, and he attended both of this class. So you can say his enthusiasm about the Chinese culture. And now I feel so happy that I have planted a seed in Marty, and this seed grow into a plant, and hopefully someday it will be bloom.
That was so beautifully said. Wow. Mate, you haven't been to China yet, right?
Not yet.
Oh, we must have you here as soon as possible. I feel like, Professor, I mean, I'm sure you can agree, when he comes to China and tries the tea from here, as well as all the traditional ways of making tea, he'll have a whole new impression of it, I bet.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
That will be
He's going to love it. He's going to love it.
That is fascinating. I love it. And from your outfits today, we can really tell the look of the modern style of Chinese outfits on you too. And I must say, it's looking lovely.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
as we're talking about modern style in terms of Chinese culture, a lot of young people are actually bringing back traditional ways of what we might think only elderly would do this, only elderly would do that. But now, actually, the young generation is also bringing back fashion. They're bringing back a lot of music, I would say, traditionally, but most importantly, they are actually bringing back the tea culture. When we say tea houses, you might think, a young person might prefer to go to a cafe, or he might prefer to go to, I would say, a fancy restaurant, something very hip. And another way of bringing tea back is actually drinking milk tea, or what we call 奶茶 in Chinese. I know so much of my friends and my colleagues, we literally hold a cup of 奶茶, and we think it's quite fashionable. Not to even mention how good the flavor is, but to have a cup of milk tea is a statement right now. You just hold it, you're all over the street. It's not coffee anymore, it's milk tea. So, Professor, can you tell me, what is the fascination about young people in China loving milk tea, or 奶茶, as we call it?
Okay, so you know this milk tea is sweet and has a very fragrant flavor. So the young generation, they love it. But for the authentic tea, and it starts with bitterness first, but it has the aftertaste sweet. So I think the young people probably they like this kind of sweet stuff. So that's why they like the milk tea and bubble tea. But gradually, I think as they growing older, and maybe they're going to like this kind of authentic traditional Chinese tea.
Definitely, definitely. You're so right in terms of saying young people. According to a survey, Gen Z is the most popular group of people who love drinking milk tea. The survey states that 94% of individuals within 20 to 29 years old have purchased so much boba in the past 3 months, as we can say, standing in line even for many hours just to taste that fantastic, flavorful taste of milk tea. We have milk tea with boba, we have them with red beans, we have them with fruits and nuts, all kinds of variety of milk tea. So, Mate, tell me, how's the milk tea culture in Hungary right now? Are young people as enthusiastic there?
Actually, yes. I have Gen Z friends, and they love it. In Miskolc, we have two stores where you can buy it, and in Budapest there is one which is quite famous in the whole city, so in the whole country, because Budapest is so big, which is called Buba Bubble Tea. All of my Gen Z friends are talking about this, and they are telling me that one day I should try that place. I'm a traditional gentleman, so I prefer the classic way of the tea, but one day I will let them influence me and I will go.
You are definitely a traditional gentleman, but I'm sure if we introduced you to some new methods or like new innovative styles of milk tea, you'd love it as well. For example, with the examples in front of me right now, because in recent years we sometimes may refer to milk tea as junk food because of the high sugar level, as the professor stated, but a lot of stores right now are creating milk tea with quite low GI index levels, which is quite healthier for us. For example, in front of me right now, we have an example. This has strawberry in it, it has coconut milk in it, it is, how do I say, there's tea infused in it, but at the same time, when you look at it, it tastes quite different, you would say. Let me have a taste first. Professor Mate, I'd love to share this with you. If there was a method I could magically transform this over to Hungary, I would definitely, but this is a new method of young people actually loving to infuse some health, because young people right now, we're really caring about our health and we really want the junk food or like something titled as unhealthy, but we would love to push some healthy aspects into it. For example, this next to me is bird nest. Professor, can you tell me a bit more about this? And also let's introduce it to Mate. How come bird nest is becoming so popular right now, especially putting it in tea as well?
Yes, unfortunately, I don't know the bird nest, this kind of tea. And this could be a fashionable tea, and maybe if you go to China and you would like to try, and maybe when I go back to China, I would love to try this kind of tea.
Infusing all kinds of stuff right now into milk tea. I think bird's nest is something that got quite popular these few years with a lot of women loving to drink it because it's good for our skin. So I think that's the fascination of young people loving milk tea right now. You can just put all kinds of aspect into it. And the truth is, a lot of tea actually do have very healthy aspects to it. So once you make something much healthier, it could cure a lot of tummy issues, it could cure a lot of, I would say, asthma. So in the end of the day, whether or not we are trying to make it the hip new version of tea or the traditional tea, it's quite healthy for us. So Professor, I think you could elaborate more on that, about the different kinds of tea and how much healthier they could be for us.
Yes, okay, I'd love to. And here you can say normally there are 6 different categories of tea. And here we have this, of course, I start with this jasmine tea. It's called scented tea. And we have green tea and black tea, white tea, yellow tea. And today, I really want to say for the oolong tea, and it has a lot of benefits in terms of your health, right? And for the oolong tea, normally they have the strong immune system, and another good tip is that it can strengthen your teeth. It says if you have bad teeth and maybe drink oolong tea, it will be good for your health. And also it has a tremendous source of potent antioxidant, which is very good for your health. And of course, for ladies, if you want to keep a good shape, and it can help you lose your weight. So that's all the benefits of the tea, about oolong tea.
Professor, you have already won me over with oolong tea. I'm actually going to take a note right now to say oolong tea because you mentioned good for your teeth, good for your immune system, good for losing weight, which are 3 top checks on my list. So, Professor, you have won me over with oolong tea right now. Let me just take that as a note so I can know after our episode I will definitely be going to purchase some oolong tea. Fantastic, fantastic. we are always saying young people, as Mate has mentioned, we're always too active. We always have a lot of things on our minds, in our hearts, in our schedules. So perhaps coffee sometimes may not actually be the best choice. You may think that getting the energy and the caffeine from coffee can keep us awake and alert and alive for, we can tackle the whole day by drinking coffee. But Mate, would you think that drinking tea is actually a new method that young people like us could consider in terms of tackling all the issues of our day, being more productive and fresh?
Yes, and I'm saying this as a big fan of coffee as well. So I'm drinking coffee normally, but the tea is a different method. It has a completely different approach to refresh you, to help you, to boost your mind.
Boosting our mind, definitely, definitely. Well, that has been so far a great discussion, Mate and Professor. But right now, I'd like to bring our viewers closer to loving tea and tea culture. As we know now, tea is becoming very trendy. Whether it's specialized like group of people who love tea or just as a broader prospects, young people are also falling in love with tea. So I'd love to ask our Professor Fan if you can show us the traditional way of a tea ceremony and what exactly is it, so our viewers can also enjoy.
Yes, I love to. And here today I would like to make this black tea. It's called a love song. And this is a very interesting tea. Actually, the discovery of this tea, and it's very accidentally. Yeah, here you see, normally we start with this, we put this tea leaves in a gaiwan and add the water, and we can rinse it quickly. Yeah. And so this we let the tea to wake up a little bit, rise, and by this chance I can switch this. Can wash it. This we go slowly, and then add the water to steep a little bit, few seconds, and then we can pull it out for the first steep. And we can have one more so that you can really feel the taste of this tea. Yeah. A little bit more time, okay.
Wow, the process seems so calming just to look at it.
Yeah, yes.
I can already see Mate's eyes growing wild, going very wide.
Yeah, Mate can't wait for the tea.
Yeah.
Okay. And normally we can start with 喝茶. Yeah. So
what was that? That was a dialogue. That was a dialogue between you two.
Yeah.
That was so fascinating. I actually never knew that. Well, based someone like me, I just put the hot water and think it's ready. But this whole process, the tea ceremony, is something that definitely makes us more exciting for having that sip of tea. Professor, what do you think of my cup right here? Do you think I could go back today and do a tea ceremony with it, probably, right?
Yes, okay. Hope you to have a cup of tea.
That is so exciting. Thank you for showing us, Professor. That was really, really nice and calming to watch, I must say. People usually watch like ASMR of people eating, people doing makeup, but I personally think an ASMR of tea ceremony could be something that could go viral. What do you guys think? Mate, I heard there's a lot of philosophical aspects of a tea ceremony, and being a tea lover as yourself, can you tell me more about those aspects?
Yeah, sure. During the tea ceremony, during the tea culture class as well, this tea table becomes your whole universe. Focalizing all your attention here. Yes. And actually the ceremony condenses the key points of Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism, because tea is a natural medicine. It disintoxicates your body and it boosts your cognitive capabilities. But that's for the Taoist part. For the Confucianist part, you are seeking perfection through the details, which is quite important. And in the end, the Buddhist part is the harmony and the peace that the whole process and the refreshing tea restores in your heart and in your mind.
Wow, wow. So Mate has explained to us from Taoist point of view, from Confucianism point of view, from Buddhist point of view. I got to learn a lot. So Professor, if you would rate him from 1 to 10, how well was his explanation?
I should grade him to just the 10, full score. Excellent, excellent, very good. And he really has got it. As a matter of fact, when we have this tea process itself involves these protocols, the etiquette of Chinese culture. And besides the tea, this chapter itself, and shows us the people between the grass, as the Chinese character, cha. The top part is a grass, and the bottom is a wood, and people in the middle. So that means the people should be between the nature, and we should build up the harmony between human being and the nature. So this is another aspect of the tea drinking.
That was very educational for me, I must say. Professor, you got me too curious and too excited for your classes. So if I was a new student, which perhaps one day I'll be in your class at Confucius Institute, what would you think would be the first lesson in terms of introducing someone like an outsider like me to tea culture?
Oh, the first class, normally I start with this introduction of the tea culture. As you mentioned, that we start with history. And also I would like to say this class is more than tea, because the tea really reflects every aspect of Chinese culture. You can see, and when you talk about the categories of tea, and you can find the different regions of China, because different tea comes from different regions, like Fujian, like Zhejiang, like the Xihu Longjing. This from the West Lake. So then this is one part, and the second part, as Martin mentioned, that the philosophical idea, and besides, we also have a lot of tea poems, and the tea paintings. Yeah, so we would love to like the students to learn some poems and paintings, and with tea, and some of the literature classic work. And of course, utensil is another part of this tea culture. So you can see the utensils are very elegant. Then this is another part of this tea culture class.
Oh, that is fascinating. Mate, after you've seen so many like beautiful cups and little like glasses and the entire board for the tea ceremony, tell me, have you purchased yourself some of these items to put at home?
I'm putting my money apart to be able to do so. Because actually, I would like to buy qualities. Because with this further understanding of the underlying dynamics, for example, and the logic, I would like to honor the tea ceremony, honor my guests that one day I will invite with the best equipment possible. So I'm putting my money apart for this.
You are a classic
Martin
traditional
didn't buy
guy.
it.
Yes, I am.
Classic traditional guy, but let me tell you, I love the idea that you still want to introduce your guests to like the traditional, authentic way of like Chinese tea. For I feel like a lot of young people right now would go like, oh my God, let me invite you to a lovely glass of milk tea or boba tea. But I feel like that aspect in terms of mate, not working. You'll still want the traditional version of tea.
I'm quite flexible. So.
And there's a lot of milk tea places right now in Hungary, I think in Budapest, right? In like the big cities.
Yes, in Budapest, Miskolc, Debrecen, Szeged, normally these cities with a central role in the region have this possibility.
Budapest, videos about Budapest are quite popular here in China. I remember scrolling through Chinese TikTok and I saw the night views of Budapest. It was so beautiful. So I think probably
really?
With Professor and with Mate, one day maybe we can meet and we can have a cup of bubble tea or traditional Chinese tea while watching the views there. Hopefully one day. And at the same time, I'd love to welcome I'd love to welcome both of you back to China as well. So perhaps we can go to the West Lake, we can go to different parks, different lakes in China while enjoying some traditional Chinese tea as well.
All right, deal.
Thank you.
Deal, right? That sounds fascinating, fascinating. Guys, thank you so much for introducing us to the beautiful culture of tea, for transforming someone like me who's a coffee lover to, I'm probably going to go back and buy oolong tea today, thanks to Professor Fan. I think this reaches...
Yeah, that's good. That's good for you.
That's good, isn't it? I do agree. I already took a note. Oolong tea is top priority. I'm going to go order some right after this live stream. So, unfortunately, our live stream is coming to an end, but I do think we've learned a lot. We love that there has been a bridge between China and Hungary right in this live stream today, and that bridge was tea, which I think was fascinating. We'd also like to congratulate China and Hungary for 75 years of bilateral diplomatic relations and hopefully more prosperous friendship and relations and cooperations for the year to come. I'd like to lastly thank Professor Fan again and best of luck in hopefully gathering more students to love Chinese culture and Chinese tea through your classes. And I'd like to say, Mate, hopefully we will meet in China one day because I look forward to reading more of your articles about China. I'd love to see it from your perspective. So guys, stay in touch, and to our viewers, I hope you enjoyed our live stream today. This is The Hype, always bringing you the coolest, the funnest, and the hypest ideas and topics that are trending right now. So this is the end of our episode. Thank you for watching. You can watch us back on all CGTN platforms if you like this live stream. You can rewatch it there because it will be streamed again. So thank you all for watching us, and thank you for joining us, and see you next time on The Hype.
Thank you. Thank you.